Alright, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a little video about different things that you can Texas rig it, the way I do it, and some things I don't really agree with that some people do. So we're going to go ahead and get started in this. I'm going to pull off a little leader here kind of just to show you. Different things. So I've got three different hooks here. I've got an extra wide gap. I've got a traditional worm hook. And then I've got a spear point. Now if you notice the spear point and the extra wide gap are essentially the same general idea for a hook. However, the spear point has these extra angles that help with hookups and holding the fish, and it gives you more hook surface area. But it's a little bit different to rig any of these on one of these versus the EWG. And then of course your worm hook is for worms. That's kind of obvious. Anyway, starting out, this is something that you can choose to do or choose not to do. I usually do because I don't like my weight sliding around a whole bunch. Different techniques require you to do different things. So you just take your bobber stopper, feed your line down through it. Now I've noticed that I seem to always kink my line when I put the bobber stop on, so I always put it on fairly low on my line, pull it through. Notice there's the kink that it always seems to get. And then you have to go with your style of weight that you want. Now there's two different prevailing things for the most part in most sense of what you want to do with Texas rigs. You've got a regular 1/4 ounce bullet weight. This one's lead. This one is tungsten. Now you can obviously see there's a size difference, and the smaller weight is a much denser package. These are both a 1/4 ounce. This one's a lot better for cutting through things really easily, and it just fits with your whatever you're rigging just a little bit more. But I still keep them around because there's still situations where you do want something like this. Alright, so I got the first weight on. We'll go ahead and throw this tungsten weight on here. The tungsten weights, you don't really have to worry about a whole lot of different things with them. They're all essentially the same tungsten. What you got to worry about is the coating. Now, I have bought some that have imperfections of burrs of the coating inside here, and that will chew up your line. So this one first that we'll do this one with a bead. I don't always use a bead, but I do quite often still. So you take your bead, put it behind your weight like that, and then we'll go ahead and put the EWG on this. A little leader line here. Now the knot, it's kind of really up to you what knot you want to use. I just use just a regular old fisherman's knot like I use for basically everything else. You could use a Palomar or something like that. My tang's a little short here, so we're not gonna go a whole lot twist. It's not like we're fishing with this leader. So you're just gonna pull it down. I like to wet it just a little bit, just so the line doesn't burn. I mean, it's probably not gonna burn, but it doesn't hurt. Well, my hands are just not really wanting to work for this video here. Pull it down. Alright, so I've got the extra wide gap hook put on here real quick with the bead. Cut that tang off. You don't have to cut it super short, and I'm going to show you why I don't cut it super short. So that's your first option right there. We'll do a second one up without a bead. Now this is how I typically fish my Texas rigs, is without the bead. But I still run, well, I'll show you here in a moment here. Like that. put the bobber stop on. And it'll just pull right on there. Well, I'll go ahead and put a 1/4 ounce lead weight on this one just so you can see kind of the difference. And then now typically what I'll do is I'll just put a second stopper on that. And the idea for either the bead or the stopper, the bead's got two reasons. My second stopper only has one reason, and that's to keep that weight from every single time you cast or whatever from punching your knot. And what I mean by punching is because that thing slides. And you don't really want that just sitting there repeatedly, cast after cast after cast after cast, just drilling the top of your knot. It will break your line after a while, and not as long as you might think that that's going to last. So there's that. Flip that around. Man, my hands are chewed up from work. Okay. Got that tied. Trim the tag just a little bit. Don't have to do a lot. Go ahead and bring that down so you can kind of see and get a general idea of what I'm talking about here. Alright, so what I was saying earlier is the one with the bead, it will make a little bit of clackling noise as it goes to the water. I don't know if you can really hear that, but that actually creates quite a bit of sound. And then my other way, it just holds it there. Wow, that's a really great knot I tied. Wow, super proud of myself. Whatever. It won't let it go anywhere. It won't impact that knot. It won't slide around. Now, a lot of people will fish it without this at all, so the weight can just kind of do whatever it wants and the bait can flutter behind it. Or they'll even move the stopper up so the weight can slide like that. But it's just kind of depending on the technique that you want to do. And I'm not going to put a weight on it, but we'll go ahead and just tie up that worm hook real quick. Oh, dragging stuff around. Secret project. All wrapped up in my scissors. That's fine. No big deal. I would talk about Carolina rigs, but that's a different. I think that's a different video. Flip that back through. Now for this last one, you guys can just imagine the weights, because I'm not going to throw more on there. So the different ways that you can rig some of this stuff. It's not so bad. We'll start over here with a spear point and this lizard. And there's a reason why I do certain things the way I do. So you're going to just start the lizard. Feed the lizard on there. These lizards are probably old enough that you can't even buy these lizards anymore. I've had these for a long time. That ain't the best job there, so you're just going to take it, go about the full length of that barb, or that hook, that straight hook part. Take it, spin it around, and this is the part that I do a little bit differently than I think most people do. Wow, this lizard just... Wow, okay, so the lizards apparently are that old and that worthless, so we'll just go straight to this vile bug. Much better. I think those are just that old that they're falling apart. So I hook that full length in there so that you can actually push this up over that knot so it's not there at all. See that? Just push it up over the knot so if anything happens, you don't have to worry about that knot catching on whatever. So the spear point's a little bit more complicated than a regular EWG. So you see how that's at an angle right there when I put the bait up next to it? That means this has to go about that same angle when you put it in there. And it's going to go just like that at a little bit of an offset angle. There you go. And then to make this truly weedless, just barely skin hook that. Just like that. All straight in a line. Skin hooked. Bam. Now if you just have the regular EWGs, it's same idea, just as easy. I really wanted to use that craw for this. Here, I'll just take this craw off here. Ain't that big of a deal. Let's pull it back off. Switch hooks. Get a baseline for that idea. Be mindful of your top and bottom, however you want to go. Push it up, over. Once again, just push it right over that knot. With the EWG, you don't have to worry about an angle. You just kind of hook it right about where the hook body would be, which on this is right about there. These are much easier to do because you don't have to worry about the angles getting funny on you. Skin hook it. There you go. Break all the little legs apart. Ready to go fishing. Pull that stopper up just so that bead and that weight have just a little bit of room to make noise. Can't really hear that very well. Probably on camera. Now, I'm not opposed to hooking a fluke or a weightless jerkbait on either one of these hooks. I don't really, I mean, it's kind of whatever you already have on is my kind of feeling on that with these because they're light enough. And my thought is with a worm hook, it's smaller anyway, so then you don't have to worry about getting a light wire hook for your fluke. Once again, there we go, just pull that back, make it perfect, and just barely skin hook it. Weightless, ready to go. And then, of course, this is called a worm hook, and it's best used for worms. So, I got a couple options here. I got this big boy right here. It's basically, it's like a rib thick Senko, essentially. Just push it up, over. I bury it over that knot. Oh, you gotta get it. You want to get it pretty well straight. So when it goes in, I hooked it a little too far back on that one. And then this one's actually got a little slot to put your hook. And yeah, I hooked that too far back there. Just try that one again. There we go. That's a nice thing about this stuff. There you go. Way to rig basically a Senko without rigging it exactly like everybody else. And the Senko, you can fish that any way you want. I didn't have one around. And they've got these jointed from Lake Fork Trophy Lures. So they're jointed, so you get a little extra action. Once again, on the old worm hook, push it up till you get to the part where it starts to curve, pick a spot, flip it back, push it forward, and up and over that knot. I like it just because it protects the knot. And then straight through. And then skin hook it. Bam! Look at that. Okay, pop this guy off. And then when bigger worms like this, actually bigger worms like this, I would go to a larger hook, maybe like a 3/0 or a 4/0, because this is a 2/0 hook. But for demonstration purposes, and I've already rigged this thing like 100 times, so it's a little bit beat. As you can see where I was rigging it before. Sinks right through, which it should, because there's a giant hole there from where it was when I was using it before. Bam! And these rage tail cutters, there's not really a top or bottom. Like this is, it doesn't really matter. I've experimented with it in the water. It still looks great either way. But yeah, and even if you didn't want to put this on a worm hook and you wanted to put it like on this EWG, you just take it, push it through. Wow, yeah, this thing's been rigged a million times. Flip it around. See, find your spot by putting the hook over it and push it through. Just like that. And that's the way I do it. Also, another big reason of why I put that second stopper on there to keep it. So if you snap this off, snap the hook off, like the knot finally breaks, with that second stopper there, you won't lose your weight. This way you lose everything. So I kind of like that a bit better. Just pull this back off. You'd think as many times as it's been rigged, this would be a little bit easier. Those are the different things and different ways I rig Texas rigs. There's a guy I saw in a video recently where, yeah, I'll just grab this back. He was saying that everybody rigs their Texas rigs wrong, essentially by doing it the way that I just said to do it and the way I do it. What he does, he says it's too much. Oh, what was the word he used? It doesn't matter. Is to just skin hook it in the side. Well, I kind of agree with what he's saying, but if you skin hook it from the side, your bait's not lined up. It's not a true, you can't truly, you can't hook it in the side and expect it to be the same as it would be if it was hooked in the middle. And his whole thing is your hookup ratio will go up if you do it like this, because there's less plastic to get in the way when you catch the fish or you go to hook the fish. He's right, but I don't necessarily agree. Everything he stated is correct. Doing it this way, you'll catch fish, yeah. But are you necessarily going to catch the pickier fish that really care about that presentation? Possibly not, because I don't think you would get the same action as you would rigging it straight through. Plus, his thing is you won't use as many baits, it won't go through as much stuff. Alright, yes, that is also correct. However, these come in like packs of 6, 10, 20. I mean, I think the trick worms, they come in packs of 20 or 30, something like that. It's a huge bag for like $6. I mean, nobody that fishes soft plastics like this are really upset when they burn through soft plastics. You know what I mean? Like, you can be mad about it or upset or be like, oh, the Guggen baits, they don't hold up as long, or the Rage Tails, they fall apart, or the Senkos, they don't last very long. Yamamoto baits are trash because you can only catch like 4 fish on one before it's completely destroyed. I'm gonna try this again just to make me happy. And I mean, the Yamamoto, I kind of get it because those are like $7 to $10 a pack. You know, like okay, cool. I agree there. That kind of sucks. No, you don't see Yamamoto stuff on here. Do I have Yamamoto stuff? Yeah, I got Yamamoto stuff. I hooked that too low. But do I get mad when I burn through baits like that? No. Is it annoying? Yeah. But it's part of it. Wow, these are so old, they're just so soft. Just falling apart. Anyway, there's the lizard on a worm hook. Yeah, so for different things, you can definitely, there's a rhyme and reason for using each of these hooks, and there's a rhyme and reason for why you use in particular things. But for the most part, as far as things go, if you don't have any spare points, I'm not going to tell you to go buy some spare points. I don't even remember how I wound up with spare points, but I kind of like them because they're a really heavy gauge wire hook, and if I remember correctly, they were pretty cost effective. EWGs, that's a staple, and the worm hook is a staple. Worms do look kind of funny with all that extra hook laying down low on it, and you can't rig everything that you would want to rig that would go on an extra wide gap hook on a worm hook because of this offset. So see how this point of this hook is pointed straight at the shank. That allows you to rig things perfectly straight. Worm hooks don't really have to do that because, well, worms are typically a lot thicker around, and if you're going to use something that was more of a finesse bait, you aren't going to use this hook. You're going to use maybe like a shaky head hook, or you're going to use not this. And shaky head hooks, that's a whole entire another subject to talk about. But I mean, it's just, yeah, worm hooks are for worms. And believe it or not, EWGs are for like all your creature baits and your craws and your whatever else, you know. It doesn't really change a lot. So see how that worm? This worm doesn't care. It doesn't care that the shank is here misaligned with the hook. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care. This dart, I personally think that putting it on a worm hook, or fluke I should say, I shouldn't give Guggen that much credit for absolutely everything. I mean, unless they want to sponsor the show. And then yeah, definitely. Which I can't really knock Guggen because their baits catch fish, and I don't make baits, so yeah, I did a really bad job of that. But you get the idea. You don't have as much hang down. So that's basically mini tutorial about things and reasons why I do certain things with Texas rigs. This is my preferred style because if I break off this hook, I don't lose the weight. Tungsten hooks are expensive, or tungsten weights are expensive, but they're really, really good The bead is a solid call because it does make that clackling noise. And if you want to take it a little bit farther, you could take some fingernail polish or something like that and paint your weight red just a little bit extra to go with that bead to annoy the fish and make them strike. I think they call that weenie rig. Yeah, weenie dog rig, something like that. Somebody can correct me in the comments. But yeah, that's how I do it. I don't really have any problems with it. Of course, you want to size up your hooks to larger baits. I don't have any really big baits on the table. I mean, I'll fish the Rage Tail on a 2/0 or a 3/0, sometimes even a 4/0 if it's already on there. If I'm rigging, then I typically go with a 2 or 3/0 on pretty much everything. That's just the way I go. That's that's how I do it. Well, if you have any comments or want to have any tips on things that you do differently or things that you think I should do differently, let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch you guys next time on Northwest Fisherman.